'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, except for the ominous presence that loomed in the shadows. I had always been a believer in the magic of Christmas, but that fateful night would shatter my festive cheer into a chilling tale of horror and a desperate escape from the clutches of a sinister Santa. The air was filled with the nostalgic scent of pine and the warmth of flickering candlelight. The tree stood adorned with twinkling lights, and presents wrapped in festive paper gathered beneath its boughs. Yet, as I settled into bed, a sense of unease gnawed at the edges of my consciousness. I awoke to the distant sound of bells, not the jolly jingle of Santa's sleigh, but a haunting melody that sent a shiver down my spine. The room was bathed in an eerie glow as I cautiously made my way to the window. My breath caught in my throat as I beheld a sight that defied the joyful image of Santa Claus. There he stood, a twisted, nightmarish version of the jolly old man. His red suit was tattered and stained, the fur trim now resembling the gnarled edges of decaying flesh. The once rosy cheeks were gaunt and pallid, and the eyes, oh, those eyes were devoid of the warmth one would expect from Santa. Instead, they glowed with an unnatural malevolence. I stumbled back in shock as the haunted Santa turned his gaze towards me. The distant sound of sleigh bells now transformed into an unsettling discord, a nightmarish carol that echoed through the silent night. Panic set in, and I fumbled for my phone to call for help, but the line was dead, as if the very air was resisting any connection with the outside world. With each step, the horror Santa advanced, his presence warping the very fabric of reality. The room seemed to close in around me, the walls pulsating with an otherworldly energy. I knew I had to escape, to flee from the twisted embodiment of Christmas cheer that now haunted my home. As I reached the door, a sudden gust of wind extinguished the lights, plunging the house into total darkness. The nightmarish carol reached a crescendo, a dissonant symphony that reverberated through the halls. I stumbled blindly through the inky blackness, guided only by the haunting sound of the bells. In the suffocating dark, I felt a presence behind me, the icy breath of the horror Santa on the back of my neck. A guttural whisper, laden with unseen threats, echoed in my ears. Desperation fueled my steps as I raced through the winding corridors, the walls seeming to close in with each passing moment. Just when I thought I couldn't endure another moment of the suffocating darkness, a dim light flickered in the distance. I stumbled into a room where a small fireplace cast a feeble glow. The horror Santa's presence seemed to recede, as if repelled by the warmth of the fire. In that moment, I understood that the malevolence thrived in the shadows, and light became my only ally. Armed with newfound courage, I ventured into the darkened house, lighting candles and seeking refuge in the glow of festive decorations. The horror Santa lurked in the shadows, his ominous silhouette a constant reminder of the terror that gripped my once joyful home. I couldn't escape the feeling that this twisted version of Santa was an embodiment of forgotten fears, a manifestation of the darker aspects of the holiday season. With every candle I lit, the oppressive darkness seemed to retreat, revealing the true horror that had infiltrated my Christmas sanctuary. The horror Santa, though relentless, was vulnerable in the face of the light. It became a battle between the festive glow and the malevolent shadows that clung to the twisted figure. As I moved through the house, the night seemed to stretch on endlessly. The horror Santa's discordant carol persisted, a haunting soundtrack to the desperate struggle for survival. I realized that this encounter was not just a nightmare. It was a lesson about confronting the darker aspects of the holiday season, the anxieties, expectations, and fears that often lurk beneath the surface of festive celebrations. With each step, I gathered my courage, determined to banish the horror Santa from my home. The glow of the festive lights became a shield, a barrier against the malevolent forces that sought to extinguish the joy of the season. The lesson was clear: in the face of darkness, whether real or symbolic, the light of hope, courage, and festive spirit can be our greatest weapon. As I neared the heart of the battle, the horror Santa's form contorted and writhed, as if struggling against the illuminating force of holiday cheer. The discordant carol wavered, and the malevolence in those glowing eyes flickered. With a final burst of determination, I confronted the twisted figure, declaring that the true spirit of Christmas could not be tainted by fear and darkness. In that moment, the horror Santa seemed to implode, vanishing into the very shadows from which it emerged. The dissonant carol faded, replaced by the distant sound of joyful bells, the true melody of Christmas. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the glow of festive lights reclaimed the once enchanted space. As I stood in the now serene room, I realized that the lesson of that harrowing night was about embracing the true magic of Christmas, the spirit of warmth, generosity, and togetherness. The horror Santa had been a manifestation of the fears and anxieties that can overshadow the joy of the season, and by confronting those fears with courage and the light of love, I had emerged victorious. I spent the rest of that Christmas Eve restoring the festive cheer to my home, determined not to let the lingering echoes of horror Santa tarnish the magic of the holiday season. The lesson learned was etched into the very fabric of that night, that even in the face of the darkest shadows, the light of Christmas spirit can prevail, bringing warmth and joy to the hearts of those who dare to confront the haunted aspects of the season.